How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and here we are with another news update. We already talked about Mike McCarthy, of course, and how he's going to be the new head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Today, we have a very highly touted prospect who just declared for the 2020 NFL Draft, and that is going to be Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. I cannot say that name in one motion, so yeah, I have to break it up into three parts. But yeah, Tua has declared for the NFL Draft. Most people kind of figured he would. The other people who really didn't were Bama fans and just optimistic peoples, I guess. But yeah, he declared like he should have all along for the 2020 draft, and apparently he got the okay from his doctors. The injury's not going to be as serious as Bo Jackson's career-threatening one. So yeah, good to go. It's good to hear as well that he could be on track to potentially play sooner rather than later. And Tua's had a very interesting college career, to say the least. There's 2 years where you really felt strong about his Heisman winning chances, but in 2018, of course, they gave it to Kyler Murray. He did have a better season than Tua. I don't care what, anybody says. I don't care if their passing stats were similar. Kyler Murray clearly was a better rusher, and Kyler Murray did play slightly better competition throughout the year instead of playing Citadel and Colgate and DeVry University or whoever else Alabama plays. But, I get it. It was close. I'd have gave it to Kyler Murray still, and, Kyler Murray won it. He deserved it. But that was a great year for Heisman candidates. Also, Dwayne Haskins was in the running. And this year was basically Joe Burrow's Heisman to lose. And on top of that, Tua got hurt. So he had this little ankle/knee injury thing going on. I think it was more of an ankle injury. And then it ended up being a severe hip injury that he suffered against Ole Miss. Now, why for the life of me is Tua playing in a blowout game in the third quarter? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to question Nick Saban, but at the same time, what the hell were you thinking, Nick Saban? Why is this kid playing 35-0 in a blowout game where you could clearly put in Mac Jones and score 3 more touchdowns? What are you doing? But Tua happened to get hurt. It was a hip injury at first. It was being talked about and discussed how it could be a career-threatening injury similar to the one Bo Jackson had that ended his professional playing career. But luckily for Tua, it looks like he's going to be okay. It looks like it's not a worst-case scenario type of injury. That's great news, for a guy who has a promising NFL career. I'm not going to say, whether or not he'll be a superstar. I'm not going to say whether or not he'll be a bust. Personally, I have to go back and, look at all the quote-unquote tape, and if you're wondering, well, how do I look at tape, what goes into me breaking down film, I try to pick games against competitive teams, because if you're not playing competitive teams, what am I supposed to take away from Tua's game film against Citadel? What's my real takeaway supposed to be? That a 5-star prospect can shit on a CS school? Is that my takeaway? Yeah, I'd hope so. You're a 5-star prospect. So, obviously I'm going to go back and watch his tape against teams like LSU, Georgia, any college football playoff tape, especially the one against Clemson where he struggled, because did he make adjustments, or did he just keep doing the same shit over and over? Just little things like that for me. I love seeing people tape against competitive teams, especially in rivalry games, bowl games, stiffer competition, outer conference even. But yeah, watching tape against fucking Citadel doesn't tell me a damn thing about how good any Alabama player is. I'm just saying. So, anyway, Tua made the right decision. And this is what it's going to come down to, in my opinion. I did a video, talking about, a bunch of different topics. Ron Rivera getting fired, and if Tua should declare. And in that video, I said yes, because Tua is the CEO of his own business, which is his professional career. Why do college athletes play college football? To get drafted. They don't just play it because, oh yeah, it's football, bro, and we can tailgate, the night before, we can get shit-faced after the game and fuck bitches. No, you're playing because you're trying to get drafted. No one's just playing college football casually because, hey, it's football, bro. Like, you're trying to get drafted, you know, especially if you're like a highly touted prospect and you're playing at a big school, or hell, even if you're just clearly the best player on a lesser superior school. I mean, we have people from Fort Wayne State playing in the NFL. Like, yes, it doesn't matter what school you go to, you can make it in the league. We have a great starting caliber guard in Ali Marpet from Hobart, whatever it's called. So yeah, it doesn't matter what school you go to, you can be a star in the NFL, you can be a great player. I mean, Carson Wentz went to North Dakota State. David Johnson, when he was hot, went to like South Dakota State or something. I don't know, man, or South Illinois. But with Tua, he has to treat himself like a business at this point. I mean, what good is it to sit a whole year with Alabama when you can do the same thing in the NFL and actually make money? So, you know, if you do, Tua obviously values his family. He values, you know, God. He's a religious man. And he values, like, you know, just like family and stuff. And, you know, family, religion, all that stuff is everything for him. And obviously, he built a great foundation and a great relationship at Bama. Trust me, these decisions are hard, but eventually you have to move on. And I'm pretty sure his family had a talk. There were reports that Nick Saban, Tua's dad, and Tua himself had like a 2-hour meeting before the press conference where Tua made his announcement. And, you know, Tua, I think, is doing the right thing. I know Bama fans want him to stay so they can build up this stupid narrative of, oh, it's revenge season. No, it's not. You lost to LSU. Okay, get over it. Like, oh my God. You barely missed the playoffs. The committee did everything they could to not have an excuse to put you in. Get over it, you know? Like, I understand. It's lonely at the top. I get it. But eventually everyone's going to have to move on. And then later today we figured out that Henry Ruggs was going to declare. I think Jerry Jeudy had made it official that he was declaring like a couple days prior. Devonta Smith did go back, and we heard obviously like Dylan Moses went back, the projected like number 1, number 2 linebacker in the class. But his situation makes more sense. He missed his whole junior season. His whole junior season got robbed. So for him to have incentive to want to play actually makes more sense. But Tua accomplished a lot in college football. He may have not like won a Heisman. He did win a national championship, and he had a great second half and overtime period in the national championship game. And of course Jalen Hurts had to come in for him against Georgia the following year, but hey, it is what it is. Now we have to talk about the NFL draft, because since Tua is going to declare for the NFL draft, now that's something we have to focus on. So of course we just talked about like Tua's college career and different things that went into these decisions and all that. We rambled on for a bit. Now we got to talk about the draft, because that's a whole different conversation. So, according to a lot of people who do mock drafts, the highest I've seen Tua is number 5 overall to the Miami Dolphins, which makes sense. I mean, the whole hashtag tank for Tua thing, it's been going on since freaking last year's draft. Like, after that draft ended, it was tank for Tua. And for them to not take Tua, it's like, you know, it's like in wrestling when you have a storyline going on and then you get to the payoff or the point where you built it up and now it's time to see it succeed. It's like, oh, now you don't want to do that? Why you gotta swerve us like that? That's not cool. So I just feel like now they have to take Tua. You know what I mean? But they probably will, probably won't. Maybe they luck out into getting Andrew Thomas. You know, assuming the Giants are stupid enough not to take him, but that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, the highest I've seen Tua is number 5 overall to the Dolphins. I've seen a mock draft with him going number 6 to the Chargers over Justin Herbert. I know a lot of Chargers fans are high on Justin Herbert at the moment. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if they go to rookie quarterback. I could totally see them trying to pay Teddy Bridgewater, or, you know, trying to maybe bring Phillip Rivers back for another year and draft like Jacob Eason in the 2nd round. Like, I could see something like that happening for sure. I mean, the thing about mock drafts is, yeah, like, we're all the GMs for like 32 teams, but I mean, how accurate is your mock draft at the end of the day? Like, I'm pretty sure last year I got like 7 picks right or 8 picks right out of 32. I mean, that's horrible. I mean, mock drafts are fun though. I love it. But what teams do I realistically think are going to be the best fits for Tua? Miami is an interesting one. I think it could work. You know, like you're going to have, what's his name? Devontae Parker, obviously back. The way he played this year, he'll definitely, be out there. He got his extension as well. Mike Gesicki, nice young tight end, entering his 3rd season. Maybe he's poised for a breakout. I could see this team trying to pay some guys to come in, some veteran players on offense and defense. And I think if they were to go Tua early, I think they'd focus up on their offensive line and defense through the rest of the draft, Like, I could definitely see them doing that. And like I said, this team will have a ton of money to play with. I could totally see them trying to overpay for some younger players that other teams may look into keeping. The Dolphins are in a great situation, so yeah, the Dolphins obviously are a natural fit. Other fits, I like the potential of Carolina, but it honestly would depend on a lot of different variables. Number 1, who's the coach going to be? Number 2, is Tua going to sit for a year? Is he actually going to sit, or will he be able to play? Number 3, if the new coach comes in, would he want Cam Newton to be the starter? Like, what would they do in the meantime if Tua had to sit? So there's just too many questions there, but I could see that as a potential fit. Another one is the Indianapolis Colts. I know some mock drafts have like Jordan Love going to the Colts. Of course, Colin Cowherd's trying to build up some media hype around, Brady could go to the Colts. Okay, maybe, but no. And then I guess another one, if this team felt dicey and could trade up, maybe the Saints. Like, I don't know. It's just very interesting this time of year. You got guys who are declaring big names, like of course Chase Young already declared earlier in the week or the week prior, and all these big names are declaring, and now it's like, okay, well, let's just try to piece it together. Where could we see so and so going? And for Tua, it's fascinating because he was kind of the talk even before the season, in terms of like draft hype, and before the injury he was still being viewed as a 1st-round pick. So I never really understood the narrative of him having to go back to school. If I'm being talked about as a top 10 pick still, despite having an ankle injury, a knee injury, a hip injury, being left-handed, not being quote-unquote prototypical sized, and I'm still being talked about as a top 10 pick, you better believe I'm coming out, bro. You better believe I'm entering the draft, because people are talking about me in that regard. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah, that's an easy decision for Tua to make, for sure. But let me know how you guys feel about the situation down below. Do you think Tua should have stayed at Alabama for another season? And don't just say, yeah, because you're a Bama fan. Like, realistically, should he have stayed another season? Or, did he make the right choice by going into the NFL draft? If he's able to play the upcoming year, should he play or take the year off? I'd like to hear from y'all. So, yeah, let me know down in the comment section below, and peace out.